Hello everyone, I'm Sahil from Code Help. Welcome back to another video. Let's get started. So, till this point, we have learned how can we define types in primitive data types, arrays, as well as objects, but we have not learned that how can we also define types for the function declarations, along with giving the type of argument we pass in them. So, in this video, we'll learn how can we do explicit typing with our functions. So for that, let me create a very basic function using fat arrow notations by let first function equals to function with arrow notations, which will log hello world to the console. Now, as you will look closely, we have not mentioned any type for our function variable first function. So now TypeScript will infer its type automatically from the value being assigned to it, as we have seen in case of primitive data types as well. So first function will be inferred to be of type function, as if we hover over it, we can see that it has been assigned a type function. But we can explicitly give the type as well by, let me just copy this definition down and comment it, and we can give the type explicitly as colon function. So just remember that the function is having a capital F, unlike the other cases of string arrays. Now it will not let me assign anything other than a function to first function variable. Let's try that. If I do first function equals to a boolean value, let's say true, it will give me an error, as we cannot assign boolean to function. But assigning a function to first function would work completely fine. So let's try that. Let me just paste the copied function and uncomment it. So now the first function is not showing any error. So this was about explicit typing to a function. Similarly, we can also give type to the arguments passed, which we saw in the data type lecture as well, if you remember. So let me declare a function once again. Let sum equals to function using the fat arrow notations. Now this is a function which will log to the console the sum of the arguments passed. So let me just add it, console.log a plus b. Let me pass a and b as arguments. Also, now we want to pass types of argument as well, and not just a and b can be of any type. Let me add it a and explicitly mentioning its type colon number. Similarly for b and mentioning its type declaration explicitly by colon number. Let's try to call it as sum and pass 10 and 20 as arguments at the calling place, and let's see what happens. So it is not giving any error. But now if I try to insert any other data type instead of a number, let's say a string, I make the second argument as a string, it won't let me do that and force me to input the correct data type, and ensures a strict type checking of arguments as well. So this was related to our arguments passed to a function. Now if we see our function sum, it is not returning any value as such, but just logging some value to the console. So in these cases, the return type is inferred by the TypeScript as a void type, as we can see on hovering over it. So you can see here type is mentioned as void. So void is a special return type which we use with functions in case we are not returning anything explicitly. Now let's say we want to define the return type of the function as well. Like in our case, this function sum, let's say if it returns the sum, then how can we define the type? So for that, let me just copy this function over and rename it as add, and instead of logging it to the console, it returns the sum a plus b. And now let me call the function and store it in a variable addition by let addition equals to add and pass the arguments 10, 20. When a function returns a value, then the type of value that it returns, or the type which is expected at the calling place, will be the return type of that particular function. Like in our case, the type of value assigned to variable addition will be the return type of the function. So if we hover over our variable addition, we can see that the type has been inferred to be of type number, which means that the function is returning a value which is of type number. So we can give an explicit typing to our function that its return type would be a number. We can add the return type by adding a colon and the return type number here. Now, at the calling place, it will only allow to store it in a variable of type number and not any other type. Like if I make addition of type string explicitly, it won't allow me to store the returned value of the function add and will give me an error as we can see. So that was all about the function typing, argument typing, and how can we define the return type of a function. So I hope this video helped you. If it did, please like it, leave a comment, share it with your friends, and also please don't forget to subscribe to my channel. Thank you and see you in the next lecture.